Welcome into the SMU TV studios here in Dallas. I'm Grace Lawrence.
I'm Peter Warner.
And we are here to preview the SMU football game versus Tulane. It's a Thursday night kickoff, but before we do that, we want to honor the victims at UVA. They lost three intelligent, bright, amazing young men on their football team. Lavelle Davis Jr., Devin Chandler, and Deshaun Perry. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers are with the UVA football team and all of the victims' families, and we are also praying for the two other victims that were injured. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back in to the SMU TV studios. Let's get into previewing this Tulane game, Thursday night kickoff. We've now kicked off on a Wednesday, a Friday, a Saturday. So now we got our Thursday night kickoff in. It's going to be a good one. So they're coming off that USF win, slow first half start, but then they really got into it in the second half. Kamar Wheaton shined. Peter, finally 112 yards. 112 yards. Yeah. Can you take me through Kamar's game?
I mean, it was impressive. We finally saw his quick cuts, his ability to move and speed, and once he gets in that gap, he's gone.
Yes.
And that was really impressive, and I think finally, hopefully, as we've been saying all year, maybe that knee's been kind of bugging him. As we know, he went out a couple weeks ago. If that's what he's going to be like every game, right after we talked about having just one RB, maybe we switch back to a two. And I think they actually utilized them both very well in that game as well. But Kamar, I think, was finally put in a position where he should be and looked like the running back he can be.
Right, and we've talked about how great Tyler and Kamar can complement each other, because if they have two, I think those are your two. They're completely different types of running backs.
Yes.
Kamar, like you said, can read a defense so well. You know, there's a reason he was recruited from Alabama. There's a reason he was one of the best running backs in the country at one point. So yeah, Tyler Levine, they both had 112 yards, which is so interesting. Yeah, and Tyler had had a touchdown as well. So what did you see from him that you enjoyed?
Tyler, as I said, ball last week, he was utilized right. He was utilized in the right situations where he should be, which I think was on the coaching staff's part very good, as we've complained about that. You saw him pretty much mainly on third or short yardage plays, which is what we want to see. But again, he turns those short yardage plays into 5-6 yards every time he gets the ball, which I love, and they use him at the goal line very well whenever they're there. Just pounded the ball in with him multiple times and just got him in, which I thought was really good.
Right.
I actually have confidence in our run game for the first time this year.
I was going to say, the SMU offense is not a one-trick pony anymore. You know, it's not just run and gun. And I think that's really important, like we talk about on those short yardage plays, not having to throw 10 yards down the field to Rashid. You know, it's more of a guarantee. So how important is that guarantee?
I mean, that's huge, because teams, as we saw before, were reading us on fourth and short. They knew we were going to have to roll out right and just throw it in one little flat route, or throw it deep to the straight route along the sideline. I think it's really good that we actually have someone that will be able to give us options. And also on those plays now, we can use a little RPO and fake the run or pass it, and give Tanner the chance to read the play and do it himself, which I think is really good, because before it was you were forced to run right or forced to run left and try and complete a pass that was easily predicted, and they zoned it out easily. Yeah, and something else I think is really important as the run game becomes better by each game, the O-line has also become a lot better. I mean, we saw that screenshot, SMU football, they tweeted out a screenshot. It was like appreciation tweet for the O-line, because they had everybody locked down, and it gives Tanner so much time, like you're saying. I mean, Owen Condon is a transfer from Georgia. You know, he's another one of those SEC transfers that knows how to play the O-line. So what have you seen from the O-line that you've enjoyed? I think that at the beginning of the year, we were dealing with a lot of injuries, and now that they're kind of all together as a unit, they're able to figure out who they're blocking. They've been organized, which has been a lot better, because there's a lot of missed blocks at the beginning of the year, especially when we were having those backups and kind of having to shuffle the line. Everyone's in their right position now, and they're picking up the blitzes, they're picking up their right blocks, and it's been really good to see that, because that has what's probably helped our run game maybe the most. Obviously, we talked about the play calling, but the fact that we have a healthy offensive line for the first time all year in the last couple of games has been, I think, huge, and part of the reason that the run game has come back, and Tanner's been able to have so much time in the pocket to complete those passes.
Yes, and you know, it's a lot less interceptions that way, because that's a big, I mean, obviously, for as much as, I think that's why his interceptions clearly have decreased, right? Because he's got you're gonna get a high volume of yards, but don't speak too soon now, because we have a run game and we have a better O-line that, you know, eliminate those turnovers. And talking about now the throw game. So Jordan Curley was actually the highlight of the wide receiver room, which is crazy. Rashid turned it on in the second half for sure. But yeah, Jordan Curley had that momentum play in the second half where, you know, he throws it about 60 yards down the field to him. He breaks away from two defenders for the touchdown.
Perfect pass. One of the best passes I've ever seen out of a quarterback. That was on a dime. That's some NFL passing right there.
Yeah, exactly. So what have you seen seeing from Jordan Rasheed? Rasheed had 99 yards, also a touchdown. What did you see from them that you really enjoyed against USF?
Ever since last year, I've been kind of waiting for a Curly breakout game. He had a lot of potential at Arizona State when since he transferred in from Arizona State, and I was really excited to see him. And he really hasn't had that chance. He hasn't found his spot yet, and I think hopefully that finally gives him that confidence. He looked really good. His route running was good, and he showed some speed because he is a fast player. And I haven't really seen that speed yet until last game, and it was really impressive to see that speed out of him. And then Rashi, you just expect this out of him. Honestly, that I felt like that wasn't a huge game out of him. The fact that 99 yards out of our top wide receiver is that's not his best game.
He also, though, drew his 17th penalty of the year. I think it leads the country. I'm pretty sure it's got to.
We're probably the only people tracking that stuff. But he's so good. He's just so good.
There's 3 options, and 2 of them benefit SMU when it comes to the ball being thrown to him. There's really only 2, and they both benefit SMU. He's also helped his draft stock so much this season. What do you think he's going to go?
As of right now, I think people are saying he's an early second-day draft pick, 2nd or 3rd round.
I think that right now.
That's probably where he is right now.
I think it's a steal if he drops that low,
Yeah,
to be
I
quite
know
honest.
the GM of the Chicago Bears was here at practice last week watching him. I don't think we have obviously other draft players, but I think he was definitely here to watch him. And that's a team that needs wide receiver.
For sure.
And they're going to have a high draft pick in the 2nd round. So I'm thinking maybe early 2nd round now.
They were big on the trade deadline too. So they've got a lot of tricks up their sleeve.
But I'm thinking probably early 2nd round right now. We'll have to see how his combine performance goes and how he plays the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But if you keep getting these yards, you lead the nation in receiving yards.
Yeah.
And you potentially win the is it Blinkall?
Yes, yeah.
If he wins that, if he wins that too, he could sneak in as a late 1st rounder.
Completely
That'd be
agree.
great.
Yeah.
I think he has the potential to. Just depends if.
That's the thing. I think his ceiling is still so high. I think he's going to have a very long, rich career in the league.
I completely agree.
Getting into also, we should mention they're bowl eligible now. We kind of expect, and to Rhett Lashlee now it's an expectation, but something that's great about Rhett is that he's the first SMU coach since 1982 to get to a bowl game in his first year as head coach. So, it's kind of tough. They drop 4 kind of in a chunk of time, but, they've come back from that 4-loss stint. And Rhett's kind of rallied the team together. So what have you seen from Rhett that you enjoy now going into the Tulane game? The bowl is secured.
Yeah, so bowl is secured, which is great. Same pony, new express. That's been the phrase all year. And it looks like the express could be back. And recruiting also, that's another story we'll talk about potentially later.
Yes.
But I think he was just trying to work out the kinks of being an actual head coach at the beginning of the year, as we saw play calling in TCU game, UCF game.
Playing his former mentors.
Yeah,
that's
a little bit stressful. But yeah, TCU game play calling kind of wasn't great. And that lost Maryland play calling kind of cost us.
Late in
the
game.
Cincinnati game, that 2-point conversion play calling. I think he's kind of worked out the kinks and learned what works and what doesn't work and figured out what he's confident in. And now he has confidence.
Right.
And I think that's huge as a head coach, especially a first-year coach. That's a lot to deal with.
Yes.
And once you kind of figure out your way and you know who works, there's just a lot of kinks. You don't know the players exactly well. I think now that he knows everything, I think he's going to be great. And I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
And obviously he's calling the plays on offense, and that has been, I think, fixed completely, and he figured out how to do it.
Yeah, I would put him. We put him at a B-, I think, kind of collectively. I'd put him more at an A- right now. I think the past 2 games have gone really good. Yeah,
I'm
right
B+
on that cusp.
right now. If we can get a win this week, I'll put him
It'll
at the A.
It'll be great. Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Tulane. So like I said, they're number 21st in the country. They dropped after the UCF loss. I think Tulane had that game in the palm of their hand. Gus Malzahn went for it on a 4th down, and instead of going for it and trying to pick up the yard or 2 he needed, they threw the ball, and the receiver didn't catch it, but the flag was thrown, and then they got an automatic 1st down. From there, steamrolled, they won the game.
It was over.
So, so Tulane fell. Do you think that Tulane, they beat K-State, which is really impressive. I think K-State will rematch TCU in the Big 12 championship. But how much are they phony? Do you think Tulane's phony, or do you think they proved themselves this season so far?
So I wouldn't say phony, but I think that the let's say the wave is not as much of a tidal wave anymore, and more of like a little one you'd see in a no-wake zone. Pratt's a great quarterback. In recent years, he's given us trouble in the first half or so, maybe 3 quarters.
Seasoned,
He's experienced and he's done pretty well. But I think they were just kind of riding on a high like SMU has in recent years, where they start off really well and they get hot, but once you're not hot,
That's the thing.
It kind of
Teams
is
are
really
proven
hard.
in November, and it looks like Rhett Lashlee is proving himself in November.
And I think Tulane, as good as they are, I think it's kind of like you're on that high, but once you come down from that, it's not gonna. It's a lot harder to get your team rallied.
I mean, it's very common in the American Athletic Conference for teams to just kind of collapse.
Right. And now they're looking at an potential. They're probably worried we might not make the conference championship anymore.
Yeah.
They have us, then Cincinnati. They play the 3 hardest teams in the conference at the end of the year.
Completely.
And I think losing already the first one to the hardest team probably took a little blow to that confidence.
Yep.
And I think they're good. They're a great team, but I don't think they're as good as people thought just because their strength of schedule hasn't been so great. They barely escaped Houston at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people are potentially thinking. I think that.
Oh, I would take SMU in an upset because, I mean, it's that Thursday night game. Let's isolate them this week. Let's just look at the past couple weeks. It looks like SMU's on the up and Tulane's on the down.
Yes.
And it's just a momentum thing. And I think in college football that matters so much.
And on a short week, coming off a must-win game where everyone play hard, and they're just they get all the way through 4 quarters. We were practically done just halfway through the third quarter. People weren't playing as much as starters.
Tanner came out, keeping the starters healthy and
they were using all their play calling. They used the whole playbook. We didn't really have to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to UCF, but that's an opponent.
Yeah.
We just played simple football, scored our points, won the game, got out. They threw everything they had at UCF and still lost.
Yeah.
And now we have their full playbook to look at for film. Obviously they've seen ours, but I think they're going to be a little bit tired too.
Right.
And I think it's going to be a lot better chance for SMU to win this, and just because of that short week alone.
Who do you think is going to need to really step up tomorrow against Tulane?
The secondary.
Yeah.
They finally have started to look better. But honestly, on the whole defensive front, it's not even that our coverage isn't bad, it's tackling. And our schemes are fine, but they need to tackle. They aren't wrapping up. We miss tons of tackles every game. I think just to step up as a whole, as a secondary, and honestly the front 7 too, and tackle.
Yeah.
We got to stop letting them get second chances and yards after contact. Then on the offensive side, Rashi, their defense is good, and they don't give up a lot of passing yards a game. They only give up 238 passing yards a game.
The one lucky thing is that this might be the smallest defense. They're good, but I think they're still a little bit smaller than, not saying the teams that SMU steamrolled through the season, but the tough opponents.
Yeah.
TCU was huge. Maryland was huge compared to what they're used to. Right.
They're bigger.
Yeah, so I think Tulane is a little bit smaller, but they're gritty. They can get a stop.
They go hard.
Right.
But I think that it's pretty much going to be Rice, Kamara Levine, and Mordecai on the offensive side, and then tackling on the defensive side are going to decide this game.
Yeah, Tanner Mordecai, a Davey O'Brien semifinalist. It was announced last game he had 280 yards for 2 touchdowns. It comes off a phenomenal Houston performance. Do you think that this season he's proving himself so much?
I think with all the ups and downs he's had, it kind of shows how tough of a player he is mentally.
I agree.
At the start of the year, it wasn't great. As you saw, I was not very happy with him.
Yeah.
But I think he's turned it around, and honestly, the pressure made him better.
I agree.
Pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what came out of all the issues in the quarterback room earlier this year.
Right.
And now I think he's back. There's less pressure of Preston getting hurt, which is obviously devastating.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have that behind him.
Yeah.
He's able to just relax, focus, and play football, and he's been doing that very well.
Yeah, completely agree. We talked about Michael Pratt a little bit, their quarterback. He, like you said, has been a bugaboo for SMU, and he's a seasoned vet. Who do you think that SMU really has to stop against Tulane, or what part of their game is going to be really critical in stopping?
They have a really good running offense.
Yes.
They mainly focus on the run. Their leading rusher, Spears, has 875 yards on the year. That's pretty good, 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that means he's averaging about 87.5 yards a game, which is pretty good. So I think the run defense has been an issue all year for us.
Exactly. So
that everything has been on its run defense.
Yeah.
But I know the TCU game.
I think it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, I probably agree. But I know against the big run plays have been what's killing us. TCU, breakout run plays, lost us the game. UCF, Cincinnati, they had that 75-yard touchdown right off the bat. We got to stop these massive run plays, and it seems like they have a running back that's very capable to do so.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a huge issue. They don't have one standout wide receiver, so there's no one really that can fix. But I think just slowing down Pratt's passing game and then just no big runs. Keep it short. I don't care if we give up 3-4 yards. That's bearable, but don't give up those 20, 15-plus yard runs.
Right. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about the conference championship. Now, I think it's
There's
gotten even more crazier since last week. So, UCF, as if they take care of business and win out, they're in. And from right now, you kind of just got to assume UCF's going to be in. I mean, maybe never assume with the AAC, but okay. So, I don't really know what needs to happen because there's so many. I mean, they need to focus on their job and win out. SMU needs to win out.
That's simple.
They can take care of business that way.
Cincinnati needs to lose twice.
And Cincinnati needs to lose twice because if we beat Tulane and Tulane beats them, they beat us head to head. I think that is what is prioritized in the conference championship.
Head to head comes first, and then after that, it is like a statistical measurement
like
that the American does.
Like a round robin they were trying to describe,
But
there is a possibility we all could be 2 lost teams, though.
The problem is if we're 2 lost, Cincinnati takes over.
Exactly.
Which
so
is a huge issue.
What we need is more chaos than even 2 lost teams could be. The only problem is they played Temple this weekend. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Which is gives you hope.
Probably their senior day. I'm not too sure, but they've got something to play for if it's their senior day. Yeah. So if you're if you are an SMU fan, you probably are if you're watching this show. But you need Cincinnati to lose out. You need us to beat Tulane and us to beat Memphis next weekend.
If Cincinnati loses out, we win out. Statistics-wise, we should be in over every other team that would be a 2-loss team or have a head-to-head. But yeah, pretty much we win out. Since he loses out, we make the conference championship.
Yeah, this team has always been better as an underdog, though. You know what I mean?
I like us being an underdog.
Yeah, they've always been better. I mean, every time they've been, like you said, riding the wave of September and October, came crashing down in November. Any last thoughts going into the game?
I mean, I just want to see the run game and defense. I want us to tackle and have a really good defensive game.
Yeah.
I just want us to have one of those this year because we haven't had one good defensive game where we really showed out.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really great to have one really big defensive game to show out. That's my hope.
Yeah.
That's just what I want to see.
Yeah.
And then obviously I want to see Mustang win.
Yes.
Which I think is a lot more probable than
I do too.
FPI and stuff are projecting. I think in the mental battle we already have that covered.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the actual gameplay on the field.
I think in SMU they know their job. They know what they need to do tomorrow night. So it'll be a good one, and it's exciting. ESPN primetime, 6:30 p.m. Central. Again, 6:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN against the number 21 Tulane. I should get that correct. So it'll be a good one. As always, pony up.